They welcomed her with open arms, compliments, constant affection, a feeling of family she never had. But within weeks, she wasn't allowed to speak to her parents. Her money was gone. Her decisions weren't hers. And her mind, no longer recognizable to anyone who once knew her. How does something like that happen? This is the terrifying psychology of cults and how they use love and fear as weapons. It begins with warmth, ends in control, and most people don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. Cults aren't always what you think they are. They're not just strange compounds in the desert or doomsday preachers in robes. They're yoga studios, startup companies, self-help retreats, even seemingly harmless online communities. They're not built on chains or cages. They're built on psychological conditioning. They thrive in the shadows of our social networks, our insecurities, and our need for belonging. Today, we're diving into one of the most sinister tactics used to reel people in: love bombing, followed by fear-based control. This is the classic bait and switch. It's not just clever. It's scientifically strategic. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how cults and other manipulative systems trap people with affection and break them with fear. And more importantly, how to recognize it when it's happening around you. It always starts with the flood. You're praised, adored, welcomed with what feels like unconditional love. They remember your name. They listen to your story. They see you, or so it seems. Statements like, "You're different from the others. It's like you were meant to find us. We're your real family." This is love bombing, a psychological tactic where someone or a group overwhelms you with affection, gifts, praise, and attention. It creates a high, a neurochemical rush. Dopamine floods the brain. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, kicks in. And it's not exclusive to cults. Narcissists use it in romantic relationships. Toxic bosses use it to hook new employees. Extremist groups use it to recruit the disillusioned. The tactic is universal. The goal is always the same: to create emotional dependence. Once you crave their approval, your ability to question them or walk away begins to vanish. You're no longer just joining a group. You're seeking validation. And for those who've experienced trauma, loneliness, or isolation, love bombing feels like salvation. Then, almost without warning, something changes. The compliments stop. The smiles. They're still there, but colder, conditional. Suddenly, you're being criticized for the same behavior they once praised. You're not committed enough. You're hurting the group's progress. The affection becomes a tool of control. You're forced to earn their love by obeying their rules. Rules that shift, that escalate, that isolate. And when you push back, you're told, "You're not spiritually ready. You're full of ego. You're disappointing the leader." It's emotional whiplash. The person who made you feel whole is now making you feel broken, and only they can put you back together. Dr. Margaret Singer, a pioneer in cult psychology, described this as a coercive persuasion cycle. First comes seduction, then dependence, finally submission. The love they gave becomes a leash. The fear they create becomes a cage. And worst of all, you begin to police yourself. You suppress doubts. You report on others. You internalize the group's worldview as your own. That's not obedience. That's thought reform. And it's terrifyingly effective. Let's talk about the science. You might be thinking, how could anyone fall for this? But cults don't target stupid people. They target vulnerable people. People in transition, moving cities, ending relationships, struggling with identity. People looking for meaning. And cult tactics are engineered to bypass your logic center and go straight for your emotional core. Here's how it works. Love bombing activates dopamine and oxytocin, pleasure and trust. Fear-based control triggers cortisol, the stress hormone. Your brain starts associating the cult or the leader with both relief and anxiety. This creates a feedback loop known as trauma bonding. The very people hurting you become the only ones who can soothe the pain. And just like that, your critical thinking collapses. You rationalize the group's actions. You adopt their language. You rewrite your memories to fit their narrative. And if someone tries to rescue you, you resist them, not the cult. Because now, your identity is fused with theirs. This isn't theory, it's history. Let's look at just a few chilling examples. Jonestown, Jim Jones used love bombing to create a sense of utopia. But when members doubted him, fear and isolation followed, culminating in over 900 deaths in a mass murder-suicide. Heaven's Gate. Recruits were promised enlightenment and cosmic purpose. But behind closed doors, love turned to rigid control, including forced celibacy, uniformity, and ultimately, mass death. NXIVM, marketed as a self-help movement, it used praise-heavy workshops to build loyalty. But deeper in, members were branded, starved, and coerced, physically and psychologically. In every case, the blueprint was the same: love, isolation, fear, control. And tragically, it worked. If you've ever seen love bombing in a relationship, an online community, or a movement, share your experience in the comments. And here's a question to think about. What's more powerful, love or fear? Let's talk about it. And if this deep dive helped you spot red flags or learn something new, hit that like button. It helps more than you know, and it spreads awareness. In the end, cults don't need fences or guns to trap people. They just need access to your emotions. They use love to pull you in. And fear to make sure you never leave. So the next time something feels too good to be true, pause. Ask questions. Look deeper. Because true love doesn't demand your silence. True family doesn't control who you are. Knowledge is resistance. And as long as we keep asking, who's controlling the narrative and why, we'll never be powerless again.